What's up guys? Today we'll be installing a Mishimoto oil cooler on my 350Z. Now we're installing this today because I have my third drift event coming up this weekend, and the first two drift events I was running into an issue of the oil getting too hot. Now the oil getting too hot was causing it to thin, basically causing the cam position sensors to get all out of whack because they're not getting the proper oil pressure, causing it to misfire, just all sorts of issues. So we're going to be installing that and also trying to upgrade to a 1040 weight oil. Now some of you might get mad at me for doing that, but 530 was not working at all for me. It was just getting way too hot, way too quick, and just, again, way too thin. So let's go ahead and see what's inside the box here. We have, looks like the two lines right here. Some instructions and an air freshener from Mishimoto. Use that. Looks like some of the mounting hardware and the fittings, all that good stuff. I would assume this is the mounting bracket, and the radiator itself, I would assume, is in that box right there. So, shouts out to FedEx for getting my Candace here while I was making the video, because I was starting to get worried, and if they did not get here today, then I would not be drifting this weekend. But anyway, step number one, get our car jacked up. Step number two, let's remove the bumper. Now step three, let's go ahead and change the oil because we need to put the sandwich plate on and we need to do an oil change on here anyway. So next we'll be mounting our bracket onto our radiator support. So these two holes right here were pre-existing and they seem to line up with this, so I believe that's where it goes. And these two holes here I ended up having to drill. Now it comes with two different size bolts for this, and the larger one was able to thread into here without any issues, but this pre-existing hole here was a little bit too big for anything, so I'm going to use one of these smaller bolts and nuts to hold that in. I used a 3/16 bit to drill a hole here, and we're just going to thread the smaller one in here. I'm not going to use the nut on the back just because there's not enough clearance back there, and I don't know what size that hole is because I've lost half my drill bits, and I just used the same 3/16 bit, walled it out until this was able to thread in kind of nicely. So let's go ahead and get that on there. Alright, so we got that all mounted on there, and let's find our this thingy. Alright, it looks pretty good. What we have left for that would be these four nuts and bolts that look like this. I guess they'll come in from the top. Probably look a little bit better. The bottom will probably be a little more hidden behind my bumper. And I'm just going to leave that sitting in there kind of loosely for right now, just in case we do need to adjust it at all while we're trying to get those lines on there. But this will give us a good idea of what we're working with when we're trying to adjust the lines or run them however we have to. So now that we've gotten the oil cooler on there, we're going to mount our sandwich plate. That ring right there will end up going against the car itself. And then putting on the connections right here for the hoses. We'll get them in a little tighter once it's on there. And we have our little adapter basically, or the extension I guess it is really, for the oil filter. And once we got all that done, all we need to do is put our hoses on. Sorry if the lighting's not so great down here, but we have our sandwich plate right here, and we've just loosely putting these in here, just kind of gauge out where we need to position them. That will just slide on over where you would normally put your oil filter, and then you have this right here, which is basically like an extension for your oil filter to thread onto, and it's what actually holds this on here. Again, just keeping it kind of loose to get an idea of where we need to position everything. And next I'm going to get the lines kind of on there, attach them in between, and see what the best way to run them is. Now, the way I run them might not work the best for everybody, just because I do have an angle kit on here and all sorts of weird stuff that relocates a few things. So really the best way to find what way to run these lines is just to kind of play with it a little bit yourself and try a few different things and see what will be nice, safe, and out of the way. So after trying to run the lines a few different ways, I've decided I'm just going to cut out basically a small hole to run both the lines through right here. I'm just worried about like with the angle kit on there, I'm worried about the wheel or anything hitting these if they're over here, because the only thing they'd be able to hold them on, or basically hold them in place, if I were to like swing them around, would just be zip tying it. So by putting it here, you got a solid spot to hold it in place. And yeah, it'll make it stick out a little more in front of the bumper, but I'm not too worried about that either. I have a polyurethane bumper, so it should be able to take any impact if for any reason I hit anything. And if I do hit anything bad, or hit something hard enough to mess these up, then I'm sure I'll have a lot more damage than just these. So we'll be using just a little Dremel tool right here with just a small blade on it. Makes it super easy to do small cuts like this. And yeah, that should be plenty of room for both right there. See how that looks in a second. So I think I do like this a lot better. It will stick out a little once everything's done, but I'll show you guys in the end obviously how it comes out. But I just feel a lot safer with the clearance right here. Just again, clipping a tire or anything, that would be really not good to start losing oil because you've run through a line, or damaging a tire, just really anything of hitting like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and tighten everything up now, and we'll get the bumper on there in a minute and see how it all came out. So as you can see behind me now, it is dark. I ended up having to run to Advanced Auto to go get some ignition coils because we were still misfiring after the oil change. I think it was just due to some heat soak. But we got a couple extras, so we're good to go for the weekend even if anything else goes wrong. But the oil cooler, it was dripping a little bit of oil out of one of the fittings at first. I tightened it up, and after everything warmed up, I gave everything just one last tighten. And it seems to be running fine now. I left it running for a good 20-30 minutes and wasn't dripping anything. I'll definitely be monitoring like every connection for the next week or so, or basically the next few events, making sure we're not losing any oil, or nothing's dripping out in the driveway. But yeah, I went ahead and mounted the bumper back on, and as you can see here, that's how they fit. I'll get a close-up in a second on those. And there's one last thing I want to show you guys on here that we ended up doing over the weekend. That would be the KX Underglow kit on here. I actually tried to record it for everybody, but the video didn't come out as good as I wanted it to, so yeah. But we can change colors, app, all that good stuff, a whole bunch of settings. I'll probably go into more detail about it later, but yeah, I'll get you a close-up on all that. Pretty happy with the way this came out. It's pretty sturdy, it's not really going anywhere, and underneath, that's where they come out of that one hole. It's just sitting right up there, and they're plenty tucked out of the way of the wheel. I turned it full angle, made sure it wasn't hitting or anything. Only downside to the way I ran these is they're sitting directly under the oil filter. So basically every time I change my oil, I'll make a little bit of a mess, but I can solve that with a little bit of brake clean. And these fittings right here, if you do install this kit, just be careful. That's where I was leaking from. It doesn't appear to be leaking from there anymore, but I'll definitely be monitoring these the most and just making sure like it's not leaking any oil really. Thank you guys for watching, and please let me know how you liked the first video. I'm happy to answer any questions about the kit, and hopefully I'll have some more videos for what else I do to the Z and the events I have coming up. Thanks again. Later.